Good day everyone, my name is Miran Morales. My topic today is all about argumentative essay. What is persuasive or argumentative essay? Persuasive writing, also known as the argument essay, uses logic and reason to show that one idea is more legitimate than other. It attempts to pursue a reader to adopt a certain point of view or to take a particular action. The examples of argumentative essay is the teenager girl presents an argument to her parents regarding why she needs a cell phone that will allow her to text and use the internet. Examples of argument essay: you trying to present an argument. Examples is the teenager girl trying to convince her parents why she needs a cell phone to use an internet. Persuasive essay is one is which you attempt to get the reader to agree with your point of view. You're trying to present an argument, research, and idea in order to sway the reader one way or the others. The character below show the difference to remember when you're writing a position paper. Number one, persuasive essay is a teenager's attempting to convince her parents that she need to be able to stay until 11 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. In persuasive essay, you're trying to convince. That is the examples of persuasive essay. Opinion opposition essay. The position paper presents an arguable opinion about an issue. The goals of position paper is to convince the audience that your opinion is valid and worth listening to. Your job is to take one side of argument and present in a manner that is easy for your audience. In opinion and position essay is you trying to convince the audience that your opinion is valid and defensible. That is opinion and position essay. That is all. Thank you.
So, good day everyone. I am Florlyn Balili and I'll be discussing the thesis statement. So, kani siya, ang akong i-tackle is unsang paghimog thesis statement. So, waning mga steps. So, one sentence at the end of the introduction. Example: some Canadians may think that the death penalty is an appropriate punishment. Una siya, sample na to. Then state your opinion on the issue, often using should or must. However, it shouldn't be allowed because it is inhumane and does not reduce crime. Then list reasons to support that opinion. List those reasons to support the opinion. So, mo ni siya. Although the internet can spread misinformation, the internet is good for democracy. Then the last part is, may also mention the counter-argument. If it does use a word like although, while, despite the fact that, or however, to distinguish it from your opinion. So, mo ni siya. Because it let us exercise freedom of speech and it exposes us variety of opinion. That would be all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Shaina Ivonia and today I will tackle about body paragraphs. Body paragraphs discuss one reasons from your thesis. Begin with a topic sentence that reminds the leader of your opinion and introduce the reasons that will be discussed in the paragraph. Explain the logic of the reason and provide example, facts, and statistics. So, body paragraph is any paragraph in the middle easy paper or article that comes after the introduction but before the conclusion. Generally, body paragraph supports the work's thesis and shed new light on the main topic, whether through empirical data, logical deduction, deliberate persuasion, or anecdotal evidence. So, body paragraph is the main topic or point of your essay. It put in the middle of your essay. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Midilinawong. Now I am going to discuss my topic, which is all about the counter-argument. Counter-argument, if you mention the counter-argument in your thesis, briefly summarize it in a body paragraph, then rebut or disprove it using logic or evidence. Use a phrase like those below when discussing the counter-argument. So, if mag-mention tag counter-argument sa atong thesis, ato siyang i-briefly summarize o i-paragraph. Then, ato siyang i-paraphrase o mag-discuss ta about the counter-argument.
Good day everyone, I am Angel Isabinian and I'm going to tackle about conclusion in a research-based argumentative essay. So what is a conclusion? So conclusion wrap up what you have been discussing in your paper after moving from general to specific information in the introduction and body paragraphs. Your conclusion should begin falling back into more general information that restate the main points of your argument. So conclusions are just as important as a introduction. So the conclusion closes the essay and tries to close the issue. So the aim is to convince the reader that your essay is covered all the most important arguments about the issue and that your main premise is the best position on the issue. So there are do's and don'ts in writing a conclusion in a argumentative essay. So the do's are restate your opinion. Read what you've written. So read what is written whether or not the essay is written at stretch. When you are done with the introduction and body paragraph, it is important to give a true meaning. This is the time that you can access whether you have left any key points or examples out and make amends. So once that is done, read it once again in its entirety. This is the first step in planning the concluding paragraph. By going over the rest of the essay, you can make a note of the main points and ensure you restate them and the conclusion. So, not just that, this exercise also ensure you don't repeat any statement as is. So next is re-emphasize your viewpoint. So re-emphasize your viewpoint. So what were the strongest arguments you made in the paper? So begin the conclusion by reminding the reader of your viewpoint by restating the most logical arguments you made in the essay. Use this space to tie loose ends and summarize the main points. The conclusion needs to act as a reminder stating why your viewpoint matters. Next is discuss possible implications. So you have reminded the reader of your arguments or the stand you are taking in the essay. So what not push them to think about it. So it's a good idea to discuss possible implication in the conclusion paragraph of an argumentative essay. So what does that include? You can discuss hypothetical situation that can arise if the reader goes with your point of view. So alternatively, you can also get them to ponder about ramifications of going with the opposing view of point. Either way, the idea is to get them to consider your main argument and derive logical sense out of it. So, and lastly, end with a question. So some questions are not meant to be answered. They are just for emphasis and to leave the reader with something to think about. So yes, you can consider in ending with a question and asking a rhetorical question in the conclusion paragraph. This keeps the reader engaged till the last sentence and enhances the recall value of your essay. So just make sure your questions are relevant to the main point of the argumentative essay and ensure they are crafted in a manner that strengthens your arguments or point of view. Next is the don'ts and writing a conclusion in a research-based argumentative essay. So first is present new information. So by the time you reach the conclusion, you should have said it all. If you haven't revisit the essay, identify gaps because the concluding paragraph is not the place to introduce new arguments, facts, or information. So doing this weakens the paper and reflect your planning. So don't confuse the reader and only focus on presenting already mentioned arguments and data in a new way rather than adding more layers to the paper. Next is repeat the thesis statement. So imagine reading the thesis statement in the introduction and having to read it all over again in the conclusion paragraph. You don't have your instructor thinking, didn't I just read this statement? So repeating the thesis statement is a complete no. You should rewrite it in other words while tying together the main arguments raised by doing copy-paste. Job without adding any value will do nothing to the conclusion. So, if anything, you should take your thesis statement to the next level and substantiate it such that the reader can make the connection and be convinced about your writing. Next is write with overused phrases. So if you are wondering how should I start the conclusion paragraph, know this that you certainly should not begin with finally and lastly. As stated earlier, in a nutshell and similar overused phrases. Yes, transitions are important. The right transition words make the essay more cohesive and help the reader go from paragraph to another with ease, while retaining the connection between them. However, when it comes to starting the conclusion paragraph, the reader knows it is the conclusion. You don't need to spell it out. Hence, you must use transition words that make the flow seem organic and smooth. And lastly, end with a quote. So integrating quotes in the introduction or body paragraph is a great way to hook readers or emphasize a point, but ending the essay with quote is not really a good idea. So why, you ask? That's because the conclusion needs to be about summing up and using your voice to strengthen your voice. So this is not the place to insert expert quote and wash your hands on it. So you want readers to leave thinking about the points and arguments you raise, not what some leader or author had to say about the same topic. So like it or not, your essay is likely to be remembered by the most recent thing the reader has read, which happens to be the concluding paragraph. So this means that you certainly cannot get lazy while writing this section and let all your efforts go to waste. Thank you. I hope you gain some knowledge about my report. Thank you.
Content resources. Read each of the sources you identified in writing your argumentative essay and take research note. If you do not find the answer you need from the sources you identified, you may have to look for the other sources. Namely, paraphrase. Paraphrasing is done when you use your own word in taking down notes. Summarize. If the information provided in the source is long, it is the best to summarize. Direct quotation. You may also copy the note verbatim or exactly as it presented in the source if you wish to preserve the source. For whatever type of note you make, it is expected that you cite the source. This means you must jot down the complete bibliographical information of your source.
So good day, my name is Angel Isabinion and my report is all about oral presentation. So what is an oral presentation? An oral presentation is also known as public speaking, or simply presentation consists of an individual or group verbally addressing an audience on a particular topic. The aim of this is to educate, inform, entertain, or present an argument. So the oral presentation is an action of communication in which one speaker is doing most of the sending of message and the listener are the one who receive the message from the speaker. So there are types of oral presentation. Number 1, prepared or extemporaneous. Number 2, impromptu. Number 3, memorization. And lastly, the reading or manuscript. So what is a prepared or extemporaneous? Prepared or extemporaneous is a well-prepared speech that relies on research, clear organization, and practiced delivery, but is neither read nor memorized. The word extemporaneous means carefully prepared but delivered without notes. Next is the impromptu. So, an impromptu speaking is a speech that a person delivers without predetermination or preparation. So, it was done without plan, organized, or rehearsed. So, it composed or uttered without previous preparation. Next is the memorized. A memorized speech is a speech that is recited from memory rather than read from cue cards or using the assistance of notes, a speech delivered spontaneously or on the spur of the moment. So there are an advantage and disadvantage of memorized speech. So in a memorized speech is that the speaker carefully faces their audience and makes a lot of eye contact, but the problem is with the memorized speech is that the speaker may get nervous and forget the part that they memorize. And lastly, the reading or manuscript. So during a manuscript speech, the speaker essentially reads the complete text to an audience from either a paper, script, or teleprompter. A manuscript speeches are typically used when time is limited or when the speech will be live streamed. So a manuscript speech is the speaker maintain his or her attention on the printed page except when using visual aid. And the advantage of reading from a manuscript is the exact of repetition or original word as you can perform it. So these are the barriers to effective preparation: the fear, the lack of preparation, and lastly, the unable to control one's ideas. So how to make a good oral presentation? Number 1 is conquering stage fright. So a stage fright is also known as performance anxiety. So the fear of public speaking or performance is also called as stage fright. Except a huge tool of self-confidence and self-esteem and causes some people to leave school or a job or pass up a promotion. So we should also be confident while performing and also overcome our fear in performing public speaking. So you should think positive that you can do well and presenting and that you are also confident. So laughing it can help you relax. Make yourself look good. When you look good, you feel good. So be prepared and always practice. Next is knowing the audience. So the age of the audience, know the need of the audience, utility of presentation, the audience, and information gained from the presentation. So you should also consider the audience, and if ang mga audience nimo kay maka-gain bag knowledge sa imuhang gi-present, so you should also consider it. So number 3, content of presentation. So the content should not be too difficult to understand for the audience. If too long, shorten the content according to the time available. So you should also give some example or instruction to support your argument. So structure of presentation. So a structure of presentation is like an essay. So an oral presentation needs an intro, body, and conclusion. So oral presentation is similar to the writings of essay, except you need to be conscious of a live audience and spoken language instead of writing. So these are the structure of oral presentation: the introduction, body, and conclusion. An introduction this is where they introduce the topic. So you can give a brief or anecdote or provocation question to engage your audience, or introduce your topic with an engaging sentence or statement. So the body is to provide detailed information to the audience about the topic. So you should also stay on topic. Include all the criteria and relevant information for the presentation. So in the conclusion this is the stage or the state goal uses of the presentation. This is where you leave the audience with positive feeling about you and your ideas. So take note, do not end the presentation with something like yeah, and that's it. Next is the delivery of the presentation. So number 1, the quality of speech. So adjust your tone according to the size of the audience. Kay lisod pud na gamay kay imong tingog niya, daghan imong audience. Use microphone or collar mic so para mo kusog ang imong tingog. So give pauses to allow the listener to understand. So pronounce difficult word properly and correctly, because there are sometimes that they can misunderstood your pronunciation. So next is the rapport with the audience. So when we say a rapport is a relationship characterized especially by agreement or mutual understanding or empathy that makes communication easy and possible. So in rapport with the audience is look into the eye of the audience while presenting. So shift from one pair of eye to another so that you have a glance of all the participants on the presentation or in your performance. So try to evolve the audience and presenting action by taking question. Third is pay attention to body. So third is pay attention to the body movement. So you should express your confidence in your smile and movements. So stand straight and do not stagnate at one place. Avoid unnecessary movement of hand and always dress properly or just informal. So lastly, the effect of use of visual aids. So remember the value of pictures, symbols, and objectives while preparing an OHP or overhead projector. So use a plain font of substantial size, 18 point or more. So do not use more than 3 colors, and practice before how to operate the equipment to avoid mistake while performing the presentation. So verbal and non-verbal communication. So when we say verbal communication consists of getting your message across using sound, words, or languages. So a non-verbal communication involves unsaid things like eye movement, body language, appearance, and facial expression. So you should also consider your facial expression and body, hand gesture in performing the presentation or oral presentation. So remembering the 4S. So when we say 4S is the planning. So define purposes, analyze the audience, analyze the occasion, and select a suitable title. So you should consider what is the important about your topic. What are the important events or focus of your presentation? And to whom are you presenting? What does your audience expect to gain from listening to you? So you should also plan it. So preparation. Develop central ideas. Develop the main ideas and gather supporting information. The practice. Rehearse before presenting it to the audience and time the presentation and outline the presentation. So you should also rehearse or practice before performing a oral presentation to avoid mistake while performing it. So as what I said before. And lastly, the perform. Begin the presentation with confidence. So you should also be confident while performing and conquer your stage fright. So be organized. So pay attention to nonverbal behavior and use appropriate visual aids. So that's all. Thank you.